What's up, comic book fans, and welcome to Comics Icons. Now, JJ, what they call me, and today we got the start of another new 4-part miniseries called Weapon Xmen. And this is a pretty cool story, y'all, that I'm not too sure many people have on their radar. And I'm just gonna preface it with multiversal Wolverines and the return of Onslaught. So if that sounds like a good time to you, then you already know what time it is. Let's get it. So this story begins with Earth 295 Wolverine during the Age of Apocalypse. And he's talking with the Jean Grey Phoenix about why he decided to join her on this new mission. Now, this isn't his Earth's version of Jean Grey, but Jean Grey nonetheless. And we all know Logan has always had a weakness for her. And although he's lost the woman he loved twice, he still wanted to give the universe one last chance to prove itself to him. But right now, he's not very impressed when he meets his new team. There's a female Wolverine from Earth 1281 circa 1909 named Jane Howlett, an old man Wolverine from Earth 807-128, an Earth that was conquered by that Earth's supervillains, a fat Wolverine from Earth 9997, aka Earth X, and a zombie Wolverine from Earth 2149, an Earth overrun by an undead contagion. So we got an old man, a fat man, a dead man, a woman, and a one-armed man. Gotta love it. And for the sake of the series, I'm gonna call them Fat Reen, Zombie Reen, Old Reen, Stubby Reen for the one-handed one, and Jane. But Fat Reen, with the jacked up hairstyle, doesn't appreciate Stubby Reen's disrespect, seeing as though he's a few claws short of the rest of them. And when old Stubby calls him fatso, he rebuts that he ain't fat. His healing factor won't allow it. But Stubby tells him that's just a denial factor. But the Phoenix steps in and lets all of them know that they've been chosen for a reason and there's no time for them to fight amongst themselves. One Earth has already died, and every second we delay, the monster responsible grows stronger. We have to find them before they become unstoppable. But Jane is curious, and she wants to know just who they might be. Meanwhile, Zombie Reen was just hoping for some more people to be around because he's a bit hungry. So the Phoenix works her magic and she cures him of his hunger. And Fat Reen tries to explain they and them pronouns to Jane. But she lets him know that's not exactly what she meant. She merely wants clarity on the mission. And that's when Phoenix reveals the enemy is Onslaught. And it isn't a physical being at all, but rather the darkest, most ruthless parts of two beings, and one of them is her. Which I found kind of interesting because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought Onslaught was from Professor X and Magneto, not Jean Grey. But maybe this is just another multiversal version, or I could just be wrong in my assumption. Y'all let me know. But she goes on to tell the group that on one of many Earths, Xavier was killed, and that world's Jean Grey shut down the mind of Magneto. But part of Magneto survived. The fear, the hate, the darkest side. And it combined with Jean's, gathering power within her. It became its own being, a creature of limitless mental energy. Sensing the danger it posed to the entire multiverse, this Jean Grey decided to summon help. The original X-Men. As teenagers, they exposed Onslaught and destroyed its physical form. But it was at a great cost, as that entire world was consumed in the energy backlash. Yet Onslaught survived, although weakened. So that's interesting too, that both Jean Grey and Magneto died with Onslaught still alive. I believe that might be a change as well. I'm not sure. Again, y'all correct me if I'm wrong. But this Onslaught escaped into the multiverse, and now it's hiding its tracks and working on rebuilding its power. So the mission is that she needs these Wolverines to find it because they are the best there is at what they do. Now Jane, she agrees that they are the best at what they do, but she also thinks that the Phoenix is more than capable. But the Phoenix tells Jane that she cannot take the lead because if Onslaught steals the power of the Phoenix Force, then he truly would become unstoppable. But also, if Onslaught corrupts an Earth and infests the minds of all its people, as it did to its own homeworld, then that place is beyond help. and the Phoenix would need to save its power to destroy that world. So she needs these Wolverines to fight until their last breaths to save any Earth from that fate. And she knows she can trust them to make the hard call when there's no other choice. So she's narrowed the possible location of Onslaught to one section of the multiverse. And there's one Earth in particular that she believes Onslaught will likely be drawn to, because it is an Earth where humans and mutants have united to fight off an alien invasion, and now they live together in peace. And Jean Grey and Magneto are the leaders there for mutant kind. So as she sends these guys out into the multiverse, she lets them know to just call for her in their minds if they need her, and she'll hear. And if they find Onslaught, kill it. And then they're sent to Earth 93068. So when they arrive, they find a statue of Nick Fury and Professor X that honors the humans and mutants who gave their lives to repel the Badoon invasion, and are then almost immediately met with a familiar sight as Captain America's shield flies right by them, bouncing off the statue. Then the uncanny Avengers appear. But the Avengers immediately suspect that these are some kind of clones, and without question, go right into battle with the Wolverines. And I'm not gonna lie, it kind of seems jacked up that these Avengers come in fighting in the middle of a crowded park when these Wolverines were doing nothing but looking at a statue. I mean, these guys are out in the open using full powers and everything. Carol Danvers is openly blasting that old Stumpy, and people are in the background just running for their lives now. Sometimes these comics really make the Avengers seem pretty ignorant. Like, clones or not, these guys were being completely peaceful, and even if you've been tricked before, does it really seem like the best idea to have this fight directly by innocent bystanders against people who gave no threats and avoided the innocents? I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but hey, comics, right? But luckily, Stubby seems to be the smart one, and he offers to take down his mental defenses so this Jean Grey can read his mind, which she reluctantly does. But it works. And now this Jean knows about Onslaught, the Phoenix putting his team together and everything. Although she's still a bit weary about Zombie Ring. She knows the Phoenix enabled him to survive on ambient cosmic energy, but she can sense that he still wants flesh. And he's actually thinking about biting Jean right now. But then Jean invites them to come join them at their headquarters as guests. Then we transition to Uncanny Avengers Tower. And I really dig that XA logo on the top of the tower instead of the usual A that's up there. That's kind of sick. But Jean Grey decides to use Cerebro to locate Onslaught. Meanwhile, the rest of the Wolverines sit and wait. But Jane wants to go see the sights, which Jean gives her permission to leave, but to be careful because today is Liberation Eve, the anniversary of defeating the Badoon. And people tend to get out of control. But this is music to Jane's ears, who decides to go out and find her a pub. But Jean doesn't want Zombie Ring going anywhere because, well, he's a zombie. So after an hour passes, Jean comes out with no luck. She's not able to find Onslaught, so the team decides to inform the Phoenix. And when they notify Phoenix, she thanks this Earth's Jean Grey for her help, then offers to go ahead and pull the Wolverines out. But Jane isn't there, and this Jean tells the Phoenix that today is a holiday, so these guys are more than welcome to stay a while Phoenix continues to search for Onslaught. Then this Jean invites the Wolverines to a party, currently going down on the roof of the building, although she won't be joining them because, for her, this is a day of remembrance, more so than celebration. So these guys go to the roof, and all the heroes are there. There's Cable, Bishop, Luke Cage, Scarlet Witch, She-Hulk, The Thing, Colossus, and more. And if you guys want to, go ahead and pause this scene and point out who you see. But I bet that'd be a pretty dope party to go to. But Zombie Ring, he's only focusing on snacking on the help. So old Ring decides to cut off a piece of his leg so Zombie Ring can shut the hell up. Meanwhile, Stubby is back inside the tower. He decided to stay in with Jean Grey because, of course, he's got a thing for her. Then we see a painting on the wall of the Badoon invasion. And some of them kind of look like scrolls, to be honest. But we find out that Earth's Cyclops and Wolverine stayed behind on the Badoon throne world, so the rest of them could get away with the intel that turned the tide. But opportunistic old Stubby appeals to that Jean's sensitive side. And it works. as she hits him with a big old kiss that catches him off guard. Then we transition to Jane, who's found herself a bar, and now she's out here kicking it. She has a nice conversation with Glob, who just wants her to keep on drinking and enjoy herself. But Jane realizes that the longer she spends time with the people here, she starts to get the feeling that something ain't quite right. So she attempts to call the Phoenix to let her know, but now she can't seem to get a hold of her. And that's when we get the reveal that everybody in the bar is infected by Onslaught. And they all go to attack her now. Onslaught wasn't hiding inside of one person, he was in all of them. And Onslaught reveals that hiding from Jean was easy, since it's done so for decades. But Jane manages to escape the bar. Then we go back to the party on the roof, and now everyone is starting to notice something flying right towards them. And once it lands, we see that it is Jane with Transonic. And now, knowing the truth, she calls out Onslaught, and she's immediately attacked by Carol Danvers. But now that Onslaught has revealed itself, Jean Grey is now able to sense it, and she comes to the rescue of Jane. Then Onslaught reveals that he's taken over all of the heroes, with the exception of just a few. As we can see, Spidey wasn't one of them when his spider sense goes off after the Onslaught reveal. But then Onslaught manifests, and Jean Grey telepathically tells Miles Morales to initiate the Badoon protocols, which he does. And now Onslaught offers for Jean and Magneto to join it, so they can rule together and make the mutants rule. But of course they decline the offer, and now it's time for a fight. But there isn't much of one, as Onslaught immediately just atomizes these two like it's nothing. So Fat Ring, Stubby Ring, and Old Ring all leap into action. But Onslaught has the powers of Magneto and Jean Grey, so it just pauses them in midair and tells them how easy it would be to just wring the adamantium out of their bones and shatter what's left, erase their brains and tear them apart atom by atom. Yikes. But it knows that their Phoenix has likely sensed its return by now, and it's not yet strong enough to face her, so it's just gonna make the rest of the minions fight them so Phoenix can stay behind and save them versus chasing Onslaught. So now it's fight time, and we've got one hell of a brawl between the Wolverines and damn near every hero. And these Wolverines are vastly outnumbered here, and it doesn't seem to be much hope for them. Although Zombie Ring, who just might be this issue's MVP, lunges off the roof at Carol, telling her Onslaught mind virus meet zombie plague, and then bites her as the neck as they fall to the ground. Then the Phoenix appears, telling the Wolverines that she's gonna pull them out now. But Miles begs her for help first, because Doctor Strange says that there's still 1 billion people on Earth who aren't possessed, and they could use her help getting them to safety. So Stubby Ring tells her to go ahead and help while they hold it down there. And that's just what the Phoenix decides to do. And now Jane was wondering what that was all about. But Stubby lets her know that this Earth's Jean Grey told them of the exit plan they set up after the Badoon War, in case the Badoon or anything else like them came back. And we see Phoenix, Doctor Strange, and Magic all ushering the remaining people into the nexus of all realities. And Stubby adds in that with the Phoenix's help, they can gather everybody in a matter of minutes. So they just gotta hold out for a little bit and make sure Onslaught's army doesn't notice where the real action is. Then we see Old Ring, who's just killed this version of Jubilee, and he can't take any more, and he kind of just freaks out and becomes useless. But the rest of the Wolverines come to his rescue, although now they can sense more coming their way from inside the building, and Stubby decides to give the old, "It's been nice knowing you." And then Zombie Ring shows up with a full horde of zombie cavalry. And they pretty much take down all these Onslaught minions. But then Fat Ring asks Zombie if he can control the rest of the zombies since he made them. And Zombie Ring's like, "Of course not. What the hell kind of stupid question is?" Oh, right. I see the problem now. as the zombies now come for them. But the Phoenix shows back up just in the nick of time. And seeing as now they seem to be the only non-Onslaught and non-zombies left, then it's time to bounce and go back to search again. So soon after, we see Phoenix has now found Onslaught, and she's ready to send the team back in to this other Earth. But Stubby tells her that The old man is a mess right now, and he's sworn to never pop his claws again. The fat one's barely got a healing factor. Jane's exhausted, and the zombie's just as likely to eat them than help them. But as Phoenix thinks they're giving up now, Stubby lets her know that he just saw a bunch of losers help each other in the face of impossible odds. And the world that should have died survived twice because a guy like him and a lady he loves made sure it would. So he's not giving up, but he wants to know what's the reason for the rush instead of taking a day or two to get right. And she informs him that the reason is the Earth that Onslaught has now taken refuge on is her home world. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the issue. So what y'all think about this new series? I thought it was kind of cool, and for me, Zombie Wolverine kind of stole the show. But this was a pretty fun issue, and I'm kind of looking forward to where it goes from here. Although they seem to have made changes to Onslaught, at least as far as I know, and I'm sure you guys will let me know if I'm wrong. But I still thought Onslaught was pretty dope to see. And it was cool to see an entire Earth of superheroes that were turned. And it was crazy how quick Onslaught straight up wiped out Jean and Magneto. But you guys let me know your thoughts on this issue and if you're interested in following the rest of the series. And if you dug it, then which one was your favorite character so far? But all in all, I thought it was a pretty cool start to the series and a pretty well-written story by writer Christos Gage. But as always, comic book fans, if you guys enjoyed this video and this channel, and you'd like to support the channel, then you could do so by joining the new Iconic Fan Club channel membership. With your membership, you'll gain access to weekly interactive live streams with yours truly in front of the camera, where we can discuss what's been going down in these issues, as well as ones that you'd like for me to go over in the future, and other comic book news as well as it comes up. Plus, you guys will get loyalty badges, member shout-outs in these videos, and more. Or you guys can donate to the channel with a super thanks. And if you're not able to do either of these, then you can still be a huge help to the channel by dropping a like, share, and subscribing to Comics Icons for more icons in the comic book world. But ladies and gentlemen, it's about that time. I'm out.